We can have your attention just for a moment, please. If you are speaking this evening, we ask that you please sign in. We also ask if you're doing any type of presentation, please, you can speak among the entire podium here. Any information, data, or elevations or sketches, lay them flat on the table, facing the board, so it can be picked up by Charlie for the record purposes. If you do need to speak to one another for any purposes, please take it in the hallway because it interferes with our opportunity to hear those that are speaking. We're going to start this evening's meeting with first a motion to open.
I make a motion that we open this meeting of the Board of Architecture Review and Historic Preservation on June 25th, 2018.
Motion by Christine. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Second by Susan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Welcome to the June 25th, 2018 meeting of the Architectural Board Review and Historic Preservation. My name is Curtis Highsmith, and I am your chair. I'd like to introduce the panel for this evening. We have Rob Colburn, Christina Redding, Susan Stevenson, along with Jeff Broadleib. We'd like to welcome our historic consultant, Zach Studenroth, our legal counsel, Bo Robinson, and Antoinette, as well as Charlie. We always welcome you as well. We're going to start this evening's meeting with minutes from June 11th, 2018. There were some changes, some requests. Every board member were emailed on those changes and requests. Were the issues or challenges with anything further? Any errors, omissions? All right. Motion to approve the minutes from June 11th.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from June 11th, 2018.
Motion by Christina.
I second the motion.
Second by Susan. All in favor, Rob?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
And I as well. Move on to our sign permits for this evening. First application.
First application is for Quaker Marine Supply.
Hey. Lay that flat and your name for the record, please.
Phil Watson?
If you could
Has faced us.
spin it so it faces us, yep.
That's how we go.
You don't get to see it.
A couple of questions we had on the sign. It's come before us a few times about the font, the specifics of the site itself, and if there were going to be any other features. Is this the correct representation of the font?
That's correct.
Is there any other decals, lettering, or anything presented?
No.
Any lighting or lanterns that are facing down?
No.
I think there were some questions with regards to the font being a little unique and if it fit in. And some board members have some questions. Is this something that's trademarked, or is this?
It's basically the trademark of that brand.
So that's the brand of the company. That's the way it's on its
That's
business
what the
signs, and
label
all this information is data.
I went on the internet and did not find that.
It's a new line that's being brought out by Jerry
I looked
McLaughlin.
up, sir, I looked it up. There are other stores, but I didn't see that in the store.
The line was purchased about a year ago. So it was founded in Philadelphia by a friend of the founder of J. McLaughlin's. It was then sold to a fellow from LL Bean, and then it's now
I'm
been...
just asking why it's the brand when I couldn't find the brand on any of the stores.
It's being brought out. It's something new.
Any other questions? Jeff, any comments?
So I'm going to ask a question because I may choose to recuse myself. So this is owned by J. McLaughlin or by the company that bought
By
McLaughlin?
Brentwood Associates, which bought J. McLaughlin.
Okay, then I have no, the McLaughlins are friends and my landlords. So, but I object to the sign. So if I recuse myself, it would be the equivalent of a negative vote. How do you feel about that?
Do you feel that you could be objective in your review?
Yes, I may lose lose a friend in the process, but
But
yeah.
they don't own it anymore, right?
Well, McLaughlin no longer owns the
They
They're out.
sold to a company from
Yeah,
California
then-
No.
18 months ago, a year ago.
As I expressed before, in terms of the sign, my wish would be that the sign have the same dimensions as the Todd, I forget the Todd Miller? Merrill
Yeah,
sign.
physically, I believe the sign is the same size.
It didn't-
No,
no.
it's higher.
It's 2 foot by 6 foot. correct?
6 foot. What are they? I looked at it earlier on my way down.
I thought I'd have to go back, but let me see if I go back to my notes. But I thought they were closer to like maybe 14 inches,
Yeah.
16 inches by maybe 6 feet. So it looked like it was longer and narrower.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure because I haven't measured the other sign, but what I can tell you is that if you look on the Job's Lane side, there's, I think, 7 different signs on the Job's Lane side.
Yeah.
We're not looking.
Not a single one of them is similar.
Right, yeah.
That's
and
right.
that's-
Size, configuration, font.
Right, which
yeah.
is true, and that's why it's a disadvantage where you are, because there are only two, this would be the second sign there, other than, I think, the McLaughlin sign that goes around
The corner.
the corner
Correct.
is just letters, and it's very subtle. And this is opposite the church, so it's, whether that has any bearing on it or not, it's, when you walk out the church, it's going to be the first thing you see, and it's not going to be...
Aren't Presbyterians almost Quakers?
I'm not getting
Exactly.
Very bold, sir.
Move to strike.
And you're probably asking the wrong one. I would like dimensionally, if it could match the Todd.
Just so to be advised that it was signed off by code enforcement, so the dimensions do comply with the current requirements. Any other questions, any other comments?
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
Rob?
I'm not 100% certain if you stretched it out, what that would do to the the configuration of the sign.
They would narrow the lettering. Rob?
I mean, I'm not, if this is the brand logo and lockup that they're going for, that's fine. There are not other signs that are that same height. So I guess if building department signed off on it, that's a square footage issue, I believe, right? Their sign off would come from total area.
dimension.
It just visually is not compatible with the other signs on that building, which, while there are a lot of different dimensions, most of them are between 14 and 18 inches tall from my eye, and this, is notably different. I think we're also getting a bit of a disadvantage maybe in seeing such a stark white. Is that going to be that bright white,
Well,
and black?
This is photoshopped, and it's not going to be that much of a contrast.
Well,
The building itself
background and black
is
lettering.
Is whiter.
white.
Yeah. So I think we're getting a little disadvantage from seeing the Photoshop there that makes it starker, which is not a good thing.
The sign, the background of the sign itself, the reason they wanted the black border around it was to help distinguish it from the wall of the building.
I don't have any other comments.
Christine?
I agree. The size is a little incongruous, and it probably would look better if it was stretched out. But if this is your company logo, and it's signed off by code enforcement, no.
It's a black and white sign. Our questions had to do, well, my specific question had to do with whether this was part of a trademark or some type of or corporate logo, which is what you're stating as such, which I'm assuming is going to be on your business cards, it's going to be on all of your
It's
marketing.
on the labels.
material. And at some point, sometime, you'll be marketing that globally. So it's a black and white sign. If you had the same style, same height, and it was pink, blue, or any other color, I think that would be a little bit more shocking, but it's a very vanilla.
The ones are on McLaughlin and the other ones going down Joe's Lane are off-white, not stark white. That happens to be my walking route, so of course I'm an expert on the signs. I can't help it. It's so boring to go around in a circle. So I think it's pretty strident on that, and that's a historic building, no?
Sure.
It's, Shep Miller's habitat. So
Would you object to either reducing the height of the sign or stretching it? I wouldn't particularly like stretching it. I just think it,
how about if it wasn't bright white?
but reducing it, bringing it down.
Yeah,
So it'd be
not
less
such bright
strident.
light. Yeah.
I think the goal was to have the sign itself, the background of the sign, match the color of the building.
Well, it doesn't.
Well, in the black and white photo, it doesn't.
Well, but we had all the, okay.
No,
I'm saying that the building is not stark
If that's the
white.
intent, that would
That'd be
make a big
great.
difference to me,
Yes.
and
You
I think
can
would
show
help.
it to as matching the building.
I'd be
That would
much
make a
more
huge
amenable if
difference
it
to me.
wasn't.
Well, the background color, we can match the building, which is
Yeah,
white,
okay.
a slate off white.
Jeff, do you have any objection to that?
Yeah, I guess I'd like the dimensions to change, but if the balance of the board is okay with the change in color, obviously the numbers are going to work in that favor, so I'm not going to
The
stand in the way.
representation is that the color of the background, the white, would match the building itself.
Correct.
It'd almost be.
Creamy.
Any public comment on the application? Please step forward.
I bought a Quaker Marine cotton sweater in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania in 1976. I wore it for 10 years. It was a favorite a piece of article of clothing of mine. That's the last time I saw that logo, and I think it's great.
I think it's only, are you going to sell anything but hats?
That hasn't been decided yet. The idea is...
Sorry, you're going to have to get a hat.
This is not free advertisement now.
All right.
But if that's what your representation is, I think the board is overall okay with the color matching the building, black and white, the fonts being okay, there's no lettering or any type of projected lighting on it at all. The actual sign itself, is it plywood? Is it?
It's plywood.
Plywood, so it's being painted. Letter.
And
It's
the
not
paint-
raised, it's not,
It's not stencil, but, hand
okay.
painted.
Anything further of the board? All right. Motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the sign for Quaker Marine Supply, provided that the background is intended to roughly match the building color as stated by the applicant. That's my motion.
Second.
Motion by Rob, and second by Christina. All in favor, Rob?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Thank you.
Thank you very
Next
much.
application, please.
Next application is for Northeast Masonry and Landscaping for a contractor sign.
Is the applicant present?
It's not.
Okay, this is now the third time this has come before us?
Yeah, we said that.
And we sent out a letter.
Last time?
All right, so the application can be removed from the agenda without prejudice?
Withdrawn
Withdrawn.
without
We
prejudice.
make a motion to do
Yes.
that? Make a motion that we remove the
We withdraw
application.
the application from our agenda?
I'm just going to get the name of it.
Okay, well, you just have to say withdraw, not remove,
Withdrawn from our agenda,
without prejudice.
without
This
prejudice.
motion by Christina.
Northeast Masonry and Landscaping.
Motion by Christina.
I'll second the motion.
Seconded by Rob,
Such as a-
and now we have harassment on Thomas. Okay. Rob?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. And our final sign permits for this evening.
Brown Harris Stevens, this is for a for-rent version of a sign that I think we've seen before.
Is that on your agenda?
Yes.
Yeah. It was amended, I think, last week.
Your name for the record, sir.
Doug Malterno, agent for applicant.
Okay, same sign that you proposed before, you're just adding for rent rather than for sale.
Correct.
Okay, so that's the representation, it's showing right there.
That's it.
Any public comment on the application? Anything from the board?
No, it's good, and thanks for coming in.
Motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve the application of Brown Harris Stevens for the for rent sign.
Motion by Christina, is there a second?
I second the motion.
By Susan, all in favor, Rob?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
And an aye as well. Thank you. Concludes our sign permits for this evening. We have written decision, first application, written decision.
First application for written decision is 180 Great Plains Road.
Council?
You have 5 decisions here, all of which have consensus approval. A vote on the affirmative for any one of the 5 would be for approval of the application.
Start first with 180 Great Plains Road, LLC. Motion to approve written decision by council.
I make a motion that we approve the written decision by council for 180 Great Plains Road, LLC.
Motion by Christina, is there a second?
I second the motion.
Second by Susan. All in favor, Rob? Aye. Christina?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Do you actually have the original? The
I
original?
have the, she said she wanted the copy. It's the one not copied.
We will have copies.
We'll have copies. Council, is the written decision in file?
Yes, should be. You have it?
Sorry, Curtis, I didn't see it in there, but I do see it in the others.
Rob, they did. Good job.
We put these copies in the file so we don't leave anything for Diane.
Motion on the next application, please.
Yes. The next application is for tenant store on Main Street for repainting of the building.
Motion to approve written decision by council.
I make a motion that we approve the written decision by council for Tennant on Main Street.
Motion by Christina, is there a second?
I second the motion.
Second by Susan, all in favor? Rob?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Jeff? And I'm an aye as well. Motion on the next application?
The next application is for Jovan Todorovic for driveway posts.
Motion to approve written decision by council?
I make a motion that we approve the written decision by council for Jovan Todorovic.
I second the motion.
Motion by Christina, second by Susan, all in favor? Christina?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
Jeff?
Nay.
And I'm an aye.
I'll let the record show that the agenda says driveway gates, but it's the application was amended for driveway posts only.
And the motion on the next application.
The next application is JAF 160 Ox Pasture Holdings for construction of driveway gates for a service driveway.
Motion on the, I'm sorry, motion on the written decision by council.
I make a motion that we accept the written decision by council for JAF 160 Ox Pasture Holdings.
Motion to approve by Christina, is there a second?
It's a
Go ahead.
second motion.
Second by Susan, all in favor? Rob?
Aye.
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well.
Oh, I get that.
And next application for a written decision.
Next application for a decision is Alfred and Denise Hurley at 198 South Main Street for alterations to a pool house.
Motion to approve written decision by council.
I make a motion that we approve the written decision by council for Alfred Hurley and Denise Hurley.
Motion by Christina, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Rob, all in favor? Rob?
Aye.
Aye.
Christina, you abstained and...
I'm recused.
Yeah, you're recused. And Jeff?
Aye.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Note on that decision, I put abstain for Susan, but change that to recusal and circle it, please. Thanks.
And that concludes our written decisions for this evening, for our historic district. There are no certificate of appropriateness application, there are no driveway gates non-historic, as well as no driveway gates historic. So first public hearing for non-historic. First application, please.
So the first file would be for Christopher and Jean Lynch, but I believe that's still awaiting decision by another board. So the next would be Irene Ulrich, 149 Pelletros Street, which is the front porch and second floor addition.
Hi, my name is Irene Aldrich. I'm representing this case. Last time, we had the recommendation to amend the typo in the original documents that mistakenly suggested that we're going to put plastic, and intend to put plastic shingles. So we have submitted the amended documents that show that it's in fact we're going to always intended to do the cedar shingles on tar paper and Tyvek, and that's what those sheets represent.
I saw one copy in here.
There are two copies. Yeah. Yes, I submitted 2 copies to the building department. Otherwise, the application is identical to
Rob, do you have any other questions? Have you seen the file? All right, any other questions? Christina? Susan? Jeff?
No questions.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve.
Make a motion that we approve the application of Irene Aldrich on Telitro Street.
Motion by Christine, is there a second?
I second the motion.
Second by Susan, all in favor, Rob? Aye. Christina?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
And I as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Next application, please.
Next application is for John Flagg at 296 Little Plains Road, construction of a first and second story addition with some other exterior alterations. There's some new plans that were submitted to the file.
The date of the plans received?
They were received on June 20th, last Thursday.
And I believe, is it correct to say that the plans weren't changed, but they've been reordered to make them more user-friendly? Is that fair?
Yes, very much so.
So no changes to the actual detailing in the plans?
Nope, not at all. I think what was the applicant was not aware of some of the board's preferences for presentation. So John Bennett, the applicant, Jay Flagg, the owners with me, Bruce Siska, the project architect, and Jeff Santanastasi, who's the GC on the property. So I'm going to make some quick prefatory notes, and hopefully it'll make everybody's mind a little bit clearer as to where this application is going. So there were some color renderings that were submitted. I've given you copies of them. They were submitted on the 20th, as well as the revised plans, which are hopefully more user-friendly. It's a very, very modest expansion of the existing residence, a one-story addition. What you have before you is before and after
Can you put them,
color
can you set
renderings.
them flat on there? Flat?
Well, they are.
The ones that you're representing right now.
All right.
They gotta go that way.
Turn around so they face.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Right. So a one-story addition on the north. These are the renderings, and excuse me, the chimney is not going anywhere. We couldn't get the chimney. It's shown on the elevations. Couldn't get the right color for the chimney. So, but don't be fooled by that. The chimney's not going anywhere. So just this one-story addition, which is the only real change other than the wood shingle roofs that you will see from the street. There's before, after, and then a second-story addition. On the north side, after. In viewing the video and having been before the board and knowing some of the board's concerns, I think the first thing I was struck by the fact was it was represented that the house is going to be elevated. So with the second-story deck on the back, the first thing you would ask yourself was the deck going to be higher? It should have been more properly stated that the house is going to be elevated, put up on cribbing, and then put right back down to where it was. So I made sure that Mr. Siska shows, and you can see it on A202, that the elevation of the second-story deck will match the elevation of the existing second-story deck. So that's not going to create a greater vantage point into any other lot. And then, very important, and it's great because you can do this, you don't have to wonder what the view is going to be from the second-story deck, which actually, the second-story deck, because here is a shot taken from the second-story deck. This is looking north, so it's either arborvitae or Leland cypress, but it's not only is extremely dense, it's evergreen, it's year-round, and it's high. So there's no concern about privacy there. Very small, some of the addition is going over the existing deck, so that we take away the deck, some of it, but there's a little bit of an addition on the deck to the north over that proposed one-story addition, 32 square feet. But again, I would respectfully submit not a privacy issue. That's all I have to say. Bruce is here. They want to take you through whatever you need, or just a quick run through the elevations.
Board members, was that more clear than our last conversation?
Oh, yeah. That was great.
The presenter, we couldn't tell what was old and what was new, and neither could that person, I think.
Can I start with a couple questions just to clarify? Because I think this is a relatively straightforward application. As I understand it, you're adding 4 or 5 feet or so to the north side of the house on the first floor.
First floor,
You're extending the deck over that, so it'll come closer to the north side, but there's the screening that Mr. Bennett's just described. There's a little change to an overhang on the back to bring it out on the roof. It also looked as though you're maybe increasing the roof line on that form on the back. Is that correct? The existing gable, is that
Oh,
getting
yes.
taller?
That existing gable is getting about a foot taller, just to get rid of that flat part.
Yep. Okay.
So it's to make the 2 gables in the back more uniform.
And otherwise, you're putting shingles on the roof and making some aesthetic changes to the garage.
Correct.
Okay. I have no
Yeah, let's just,
concerns.
Christina?
No, thank you, Rob, I have no concerns.
no comment, I think.
Jeff?
Yeah, John, thanks very much. This helps tremendously.
Any public
Nice
comment?
piece of work, too.
Any public comment
I
on
just
the
gave the
application?
directions, I didn't create them.
Motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve the application of John P. Flagg on Little Plains Road.
Motion by Christina, is there a second?
I second.
Second by Rob, all in favor, Rob?
Aye.
Christina? Susan? Jeff?
All right.
Aye as well.
Put those in. Would you like to do
Would you care for any of these copies back? We're going to keep you.
We're under pressure not to keep
Pass them
it.
on down.
I
Susan's
can't,
that way.
oh, sorry.
It's easier that way.
Do you need more? No.
Collect them and trade them with your brother.
one sit in the front?
Trade them something.
Next application, the application has requested to adjourn to July 9th, 2000. It is a standing, I'm sorry?
It's already down
It's a standing adjournment. So next application, please.
The next application is for Long Island Residential Inc. at 85 Pelham. And there are new plans that were submitted today, I believe.
Mr. Chairman, I was in the building department. There were no new plans at 9 and 10 o'clock this morning.
When were these plans received? Your name for the record first.
Anthony Porco.
And the architect?
Charles Pugh,
When did we receive these plans?
about 11 o'clock this morning.
Board members, have we all been able to have the opportunity to review these?
I was there this afternoon, so I did, but Susan didn't.
I was there earlier, I didn't see.
We did that, right.
I did see it. I was there.
Do the ones that have not had the opportunity to review these, do you need time to, or would you like the applicant to proceed on? Do you feel it's kind of handicapping you in order not to review this, or?
Somewhat. I mean, I made every effort to go on the day of the meeting even, and even that was a failure.
Okay.
I mean, how many hours of the day do we have to check back in? It's really not fair to the board, or not fair to me as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Having the architect here to describe what the changes are, to walk through the plan itself, that you felt that's helpful? The ones who...
I would agree to that, but
Okay.
fair to everyone else.
Well, we were here 2 weeks ago, and the main concern that the board had was the presence of the garage doors being towards the front of the home, facing the street. And it was a recommendation of the board for us to come back and soften up the design. So basically what I did, originally this element right here was a flat 2-story section, 2 garage doors. So what I did is I pushed the second floor back about 2 feet, and then I created a roof line very similar to what's going on over the front door. So I created a roof line that actually extends over the garage about 3 feet. I've got some bracket work, so you can see the extension over the garage door. So, I feel 2 things. One, by pushing the second floor back, it's going to break up the 2-story mass of that part of the house. The extended overhang, the roof overhang over the garage doors, I feel will create a nice shadow line, which will soften up the presence of the garage door.
How far did you push it back?
I pushed the second floor back about 2.5 feet. I did not push the garage back.
Is this the new plan you're showing us?
Yes.
This is the new elevation I'm showing you. I'm giving you two options. One, basically, this is a double door, garage door, and this is a single garage door. So that's the only
Were they
difference.
both in the file? I've not seen the double door version. Oh,
Okay, this one here. I don't
it's on the
know if
second
it
page,
says.
okay.
This is the double door.
It's on this.
Oh, the other one, there you go. Yeah, here we go, this one right here. That's the double door thing, so. Certainly everything will be softened up with landscaping and bushes.
And
How
there
could
was
you
also-
landscape the garage door when you have to get into the garage by a driveway?
I'm sorry?
You can't soften up the big doors of the garage, either the double or the single.
Talking about the side elevation of the garage, where it comes out.
Well, I understand what you're
Asking a
saying.
question.
You know,
Fine.
we
I
also
heard your
did
answer.
a little research. Tony and his realtor did research in a several block radius of this property. And, you know, we're prepared basically to submit evidence that quite a few homes in this area have garage doors
You have
facing the
evidence?
front.
Yeah.
And Tony would be more than happy to pass. Just sort of handy.
Do they have garages that come, are the first element
Absolutely,
on the
yeah,
lot?
examples of garages that come forward of the main part of the house, absolutely. And face directly to the street.
Oh, is there
How many
five
did-
cars in here? Oh, sorry, I didn't
That's
understand.
okay. I'm also showing houses that have garages protruding 23 feet from the front of the house, which block half the house, which were approved a year and a half, 2 years ago. One on Moses Lane, to be exact.
With doors facing the street?
Doors facing one side of the street.
Well, for example,
It comes out 23 feet,
This is just,
which to me is an architectural
I don't see that.
mistake.
Where's the house that's very similar to this one?
I'm going to show you that.
There is no house somewhere.
26.
So certainly there's a precedence.
There's one house. Is there more?
These are
He's
different.
handing in more.
I have a house on Corrigan Street that I'm sorry.
Hand them all in so we can take a look at them.
I wanted to show you
You
the
have
house.
examples that you want to lay out here on the
I could do
table.
that too.
Not the height of the house.
This is Corrigan Street that was built
I
2
don't think
years
it's the
ago.
same thing.
Has the exact same dimension
This is
of the garage. And the garage in the front.
Just an FYI for the Moses,
That's the one.
that's the one that's been turned.
Correct.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
not
street
facing
facing,
the
it's
street.
actually
I just
turned.
wanted to bring out a point that garage comes out 25 feet past the front of the
But
house.
it's turned.
I'm just kind of,
Well, I
pretty
just
big
wanted to,
intrusion.
I understand that it's protruding out, but it's not similar to.
I'm just showing the fact that.
Right, but Anthony, for your benefit, since you weren't here,
I'm sorry?
for your benefit,
He was here.
no, but for the one on Moses,
Yeah.
that was originally facing the street. The architect, at our request, turned it the other way.
Yeah, I'm not
So
questioning the garage.
That's not a particularly good piece of
Well, I'm
evidence.
not questioning the garage doors. I'm questioning out the protrusion of 25 feet from the front of the house. It blocks half the house. In my mind, as an
And
architect,
that's-
builder.
We just don't feel that's what we're looking at in your
Okay,
plan.
well, here's the house.
This home here is a good example, very similar in layout and design as the one we're presenting, that shows the garage door, obviously very far forward.
Do we have that
I'm
anywhere?
going to give you that right now.
Where is that?
Other than,
Where is that?
Corrigan Street.
It's too good.
It's 2 blocks from Pelham Street.
But it's a different,
I don't, because
in the
it's up to you
village.
whether you want to, okay.
Let him present his
Yes,
case.
thank you.
we're just trying to establish that there's a precedence of garage doors facing the street, so we're not, reinventing the wheel here.
You had some more. Do you have more than one?
I have more.
Why don't you hand in all of it so we can take a look at it? and-
Sure.
So we don't piecemeal.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm very familiar with this house.
you don't have as far as the other one.
These are all within a 2 and 3 block radius that I'm handing you. I didn't think it was necessary to go through the entire village.
Is this one supposed to be coming out? I have no idea which one. It's on Old Town Road. Old Town Road, this thing is on, okay, fine. Pelham Road and Old Town Road are nearby?
What I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but please allow me to just state for the record. What he's basically illustrating is that there are examples of street-facing garages in the village, not specifically only in the area where this house is being proposed, but throughout the village itself.
Correct, thank you.
Correct? This one's behind driving distance.
Oh, this doesn't face the road.
Okay.
Sorry?
This doesn't face the road either. The road is here. So these are not only behind gates, but it doesn't face the road.
But what he's also trying to illustrate is that the distance, the protruding garage, his argument, if someone put words in your mouth.
No, that's exactly right.
It's also illustrating not only the street-facing garages, but there are also protruding
Forward of the main part of the
protruding
building.
garages in the village of Southampton too, versus what he's proposing, but street-facing.
This is the house that's on the angle, right? That's on the curve. Okay, yeah, okay.
Again, I've only gone in a certain area. I didn't do the,
So basically, board members, the architect and the applicant are proposing that he wants to keep the street-facing garage. He's asking that, what he's done is he's tried to kind of shadow a little bit of the garage by putting the shed overhang,
The roof overhang, right.
roof overhang above the garage, just to try to either minimize or to soften the
I feel
garage.
like it plays down the garage doors, and also it gives it more of a relationship to the front door overhang.
and I just want to point out, it's very hard to imagine looking at a
This is
photo
different.
without a 3D model, for which we should have made. Once the house is built, you're going to have so many different other elements, roof lines, cantilevers, glass, that is going to blend in.
Well, all those are helpful, and all of those are part of what we asked for, because what you're doing is the board member made suggestions in the last meeting, they had some issues, some challenges. It's your responsibility as the applicant to come in now and try to basically state your case.
Correct.
With all material and examples you possibly could to persuade this board, at least three members of this board, to approve it.
And I want to take a moment to apologize. I was not aware that I had to bring the plans prior to tonight's meeting. I got wind of that this morning at 9 o'clock.
Wait, so
And
You
it's,
mean new plans?
I'm sorry?
You did not know to bring, that if you were
I did
bringing
not
new
know
plans?
to bring the new plans to the town.
Have you ever built a house in Southampton before and come before this board?
Yes, once. But I never had an issue where I had to come back to the board.
moving forward, we like to have time to review it. It kind of handicaps us. We're now thrown with 8 articles of examples, your plans with an A and B combination. Choose A or choose B, and we're trying to analyze this to make a reasonable comparison. It's kind of difficult. So you kind of handicap us, but that's why you're getting a lot of frustration you're hearing.
Okay. I also want to give you a copy to each board member of the actual plan. I think you only have one there right now? The 11 by 17?
We have 2 copies.
Oh, you have them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think you 2
You only have 2?
copies.
You want more?
Okay, no, I'm good.
You said-
Mike, you only need two.
Okay.
Just a point of reference, is the chimney still going to be brick?
Stuck up?
You said it's going to be stuck
Stuck
up?
up?
Because it's just shown as line. I didn't know if it
You
was
show them brick?
Originally, I showed the, I see that, but, okay.
No, it's going to be stuck up. More of a transitional look to the house is gearing towards.
Thank you for the information. Appreciate the research. Board members individually, start with Jeff, looking at the plans that were proposed or given to us, both the version A, version B, 1-door, 2-door, the examples of various garage doors that he's illustrating as examples that they do exist, and there is what he says a precedent for it. What are your...
Right. The precedence within the context of this board, at least within my own thinking, is the neighborhood is defined as Pelham Street. Not Corrigan, not Old Town, but Pelham Street. And it's Pelham Street that exists from the end of Moses Lane to West Prospect. On that street, there are, I think, 3 front-facing garages. Now, had you chosen those as precedents rather than these, perhaps you would have something there. But then I would go to the next step, which if you look at those 3 houses, they are all approximately 1,500 square foot ranch houses. If you gentlemen want to build a 1,500 foot ranch house, then I think you have a precedent and a good claim to build that. But you want to build a 3,000 square foot house, which is your prerogative based on the code. But architecturally, it's not our obligation to approve something that's not architecturally compatible with the neighborhood. That house with those garage doors, whether single or double, facing the street, are disharmonious with the neighborhood. Now, you had said previously that you wanted to do that to increase the value of the house, and you wanted to put in a pool to increase the value of the house. That's all well and good, but that's not the purview of this board. So it comes down to you gentlemen asking basically for your cake and eat it too, at the consequence of the community, and for the board to go against its architectural foundation. Should you choose, again, it's your prerogative to build a 3,000 square foot house, but in my mind, not with a front-facing garage. If you want to build a house of a different proportion that fits within the zoning code, that's your prerogative. I would think that you would have more architectural flexibility. You can put a detached garage in the back, as most other houses that are beyond 2,000 square feet have in that neighborhood. Should you put in a pool, as long as it meets the zoning code, that's fine. If that means you have to reduce your house to accommodate a pool because you think there's more value in there, that's a business decision. But strictly from an architectural standpoint and our responsibility in creating harmony within that neighborhood, I could not approve this design, either with the 1 door or the 2 door.
Susan?
Well, I agree with Jeff. I don't think the examples you gave had both of the, what I feel are glaring elements, the enormous garage and that it's set out a full 12 feet, but maybe it's 10 now, but going back 2 feet to me, it doesn't fix your problem. So I am not in favor of this application.
Rob?
2 quick questions. The cedar siding, is it your intention to paint that? Leave it natural, stain it?
I was going to leave it natural for now, and then see if what the customer might want.
And the AZEK board and batten up in the tops of the gables?
In white.
White. And you say typical shingles, typical asphalt or typical cedar shingles on the roof?
The roof would be asphalt. It's more of a transitional look, what we're gearing towards.
I appreciate the work that was done to pull that back. I think it does modify the house a little bit. It introduces a metal roof, which I personally have issues with. Disagreement with some of my colleagues on that. I appreciate also the windows that have gone in on the south side. 2 windows, I think one on the first floor, one on the second floor, to give it more of a residential feel. I would like time to consider this more. I don't feel that I have the ability to make a decision because I'm troubled by many of the things that my colleagues are. And I just don't think, despite all the work you've done and some things you've shown us, that there are many examples of attached garages that come out this far from the house with a 2-bay garage, particularly in this neighborhood. And frankly, where they do exist, I'm not a fan of them. I wish I'd been on the board and said no when those other ones came up, some of the comps that you've given us. So, but I appreciate the work that you've done. I know you want to build something. So I'm not saying no, I'm just not prepared to make a final decision right now.
Christina?
Yes, I agree. I'd like time to look at all this, and I didn't see the plans today. I just saw them now. and you're giving us two options, and I want to weigh those against this information and make a decision that's fair to you, but that also meets our criteria. So we'll look forward to seeing you at our next meeting.
What is the side yard requirement, if you don't mind me asking?
20.
It's 20. So you don't have much play moving.
I only have 27 feet. You need a minimum of 37 for side entry.
So the only other option is if it were to be a detached, just if.
Only problem with a detached is it's going to eat up the backyard.
If you're going to get a response on this side here, this going to be entirely.
No, I
I'm just going to let you know that we understand your reasonings why, and then I'm looking at all options to see.
Things have changed in the village.
Sorry?
Things have changed in the village. You can't purchase a piece of property and build a 1,500 square foot house on it and expect to make a profit. That's just
Not our purview.
I hate to be so blunt, but it's really not our problem. Our job and our responsibility is architectural. We're looking at designs, not what your rate of return on your structure is.
Is there a possibility to move the form of the house back and make a side entrance
What I was
on?
trying to get to.
And by the way, on all your examples, this is the big main gable of your house, which is the garage. Once again, it's a garage with an attached house. All the examples you gave, even if they had front-facing garages, it wasn't the prominent feature of the facade.
They were prominent.
I disagree.
I'll take a look at that.
Okay.
Most of them have a gable.
Yeah, but-
The large gable is always going to be above the garage because that's the widest span of the house.
Really?
Yes. That gable on the garage side is bigger than any other gable.
Well, it's not anything like what you're presenting to us on your smaller
No,
house.
it's almost exact.
No, it's not. I disagree. Let's not argue.
Neither here or there. It doesn't seem right at this time you have the votes, even with the information. However, the board members still want the opportunity to review and really dissect what you've given us in terms of information, and I'm sure many of us will do drive-bys ourselves, and with the examples you've given, taking in condition, in the style and the condition that you presented for us, I would suggest if you're really going to be hard-pressed on this design, you do come up with a three-dimensional design, which will help us give depth and dimension. Because on one-dimensional, basically what you're showing us is you're showing us a flat surface, kind of hard for us to show depth. Maybe what you're stating is accurate. You don't know that until you put color and depth, as well as a little bit more design into it so that we can see exactly what it will look like once correct. Nothing else further from the board?
No.
Anything from the public? Again, understanding that there's no guarantee, even if you were to do that, there's approval next meeting. However, with that said, it's your discretion to go back either to the drawing board or come back with even more information. I would suggest you would bring it before the board or to the building department way before the next meeting, not waiting the day of, not waiting the Friday of, but you should bring it into the building department.
When's the next meeting?
So our next meeting is on
Yep.
July
7th or 9th?
Doesn't that say what that will be?
I don't know, I don't have mine. It's the 9th?
Yeah,
July
9th.
July 9th.
I just want to get something straight. When you approve a home in the village, you approve it by street or you approve it by the entire village area?
By the neighborhood.
Well,
By the immediate neighborhood?
No, understand something. There are many things that we look and take into consideration. It's not one or the other. It's not science where we're saying, well, we take one streetscape and say that streetscape, we want every home to look the same. I think it's the totality of homes. We're looking at communities, we're looking at street, we're looking at texture, we're looking at designs, we're looking at anything that would have an impact. We're looking at streetscape. There are many different features that we're analyzing, not just one. So I don't want you to think there's a science to say, well, Pelham, this is all the homes in Pelham, and that's what we're building.
And with that said, this is a block away from where I'm building. This was approved 2018. Block away.
It's a beautiful house. You want to build that house, then
Is it a
build it.
beautiful house?
Yes.
This is contemporary.
So what?
I'm trying to figure out how that fits in with the scheme of the village.
Anthony, you're starting to tread into areas that are not going to help your case.
I'm
That's a
asking a
beautiful
legitimate-
house that this
it's a
board
beautiful house.
approved.
Okay.
If you don't like it, that's your personal taste. This board has an obligation to the community and to the neighborhoods. You can read Section 116 in the building code. That'll answer your questions.
I'm just trying to figure out how this fits in with the village, that's all.
Is that something you want to submit as an example of you want us to look at that?
I want you to look at this and
Okay,
tell
why
me.
don't you submit that rather
How
than,
this
that way we're not
fits
going back
into
and
the
forth and
neighborhood.
arguing? You want to make that as part of your,
How this fits in my two-car garage does not fit.
okay,
A block away.
understood. You have an issue with that house.
There's a few houses in here I have an issue with that are similar to this that were built in 2018.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think telling this board that you don't feel that we've done our job is
No,
helpful?
I'm not telling, I'm just trying to figure out how these houses fit within the neighborhood, and that doesn't.
They're not complaining about the style of your house. They're complaining about the results. They're complaining about the garage, not the style. You're talking to the point you're making is that style.
Right.
They're not saying that the style of your house is wrong. They're saying the way it's configured and presents itself is not to their liking.
Okay, so something totally out of
I
the...
see it as sort of an apple and orange thing that you're trying to say here. I think I understand what you're saying, but I don't think that's matching, that you're responding to what
Well, what
they're
I'm trying to
telling
say is, to me, as an architect builder, this is totally out of the norm of what's in the village.
You may be right.
That's a block away.
Right, but it's not a front-facing garage on that, is it?
Okay, but I'm just
I know, I
throwing it out
understand.
there.
I just wanted to
trying to help my
I'm-
case.
I'm reading two
I'm not
different
trying to demean the board or yourself or anybody else.
Well, you said it 8 times. Now it's starting to become demeaning. So if you want to submit the information in, submit it. Is there any additional public comment? Any other questions or comments that you wish to make? Anything further from the board? All right, Don, you're coming back to the next meeting. You'll have additional information. This board will do some review on their own, but you're asking this board to adjourn until the next meeting, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn until our next meeting.
Make a motion that we approve our applicant's request to adjourn to our next meeting on 85 Pelham Street, Long Island Residential 8.
Motion by Christina. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Rob. All in favor, Rob?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Jeff? And I as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
And our final application in the non-historic place.
Is BRLV LLC at 71 Pheasant Lane.
Thank you, board members. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Just check.
For clerk press.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Stephen Sanabria, and this is Neil Cummings from the office of Fleetwood McMullen in East Hampton.
1 second, I'm sorry.
We're good.
We represent
Steven Strawberry.
Neil Cummings.
Okay.
We represent our client over at 71 Pheasant Lane. Our proposal is for an application to construct a two-story home with an attached garage. Gates, just for the record, are not in this application. They'll be submitted later. The design is a traditional gambrel home with a wood roof, cedar. It'll also have cedar siding. And the trim will be white painted. The chimneys will be a brick, a Danish blend by Glengarry. And then we're also proposing, we have an existing tennis court on there that'll be resurfaced, but we will leave it where it is, the size and everything else stays, and a new pool. Just as a little bit of a background with this property, our client previously owned 101 Pheasant Lane, which is right next door. He sold that property and bought this one. The house that we designed for 101 Pheasant is actually this one. It was previously approved by the board back in 2014 in September. So that is with that. I know that one of your concerns also is always the roof decks. We have 2 small roof decks in the back. The flat roof that links the attached garage is not accessible, so nobody will actually be using that flat section.
That's this decorative railing?
Correct. So that's why we kept it a little bit lower than typically, so it's not kind of protruding too far out. And we also have Dean Gamolka, the landscape architect, for any landscape questions with landscape plan.
Oh, here's the garage.
Okay.
3-car garage.
With both side yards, just as a note also, we're beyond our setbacks, about over 40 feet, 45, 48 in some areas. From the front, we're over 100 feet away, and then the rear will be landscaped, and the sides will be landscaped. We'll happy to show you the landscape plan.
So the garage is 2-story?
The garage is 2-story.
What's in the 2nd story?
Two
guest bedrooms and a sitting room?
What's the roofing material over the eyebrow windows in the front? Is it copper or is it?
Yeah, we would use lead-coated copper. Durability.
And the roof appears to be a wood roof?
Yes, sir.
Zach, did you take a look at this?
It's not historic.
Yeah. You want to?
Not a historic district, however.
No.
Still.
Well, I think my only input is that it doesn't look like a real one. And that's a good thing. I mean, we don't want replica houses that, I mean, this is using traditional elements from, Queen Anne period, but it doesn't look anything like what would have been built then. So it's a new house, and that's what you want.
Would normally, typically, at a Queen Anne, you have such overwhelming roof line?
The gambrel, I'm talking about these repeating gambrel roofs and those shed dormers, but I mean, the fact that you have your chimney exterior to the wall. There are a lot of windows. I mean, there's much more fenestration going on than would have been traditional. Perhaps more variety there. But to me, the overall design reads as a new take on an old favorite. So outside, if this were in the historic district, it'd be a whole other discussion, because then you'd be concerned about using all these elements to appear as if it's an earlier house, and it's not. But that's simply not an issue here. This is outside. So aesthetically, perhaps it's architecturally a little busy, just because there are a lot of windows and they're closely spaced, particularly those 6 that march across the front door. But I think these are minor tweaks if you're uncomfortable with that.
Was there metal above these windows in 2014?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You mean the roof, the eyebrow?
I'm obsessed by the metal. No, there's other metal on the front.
The kitchen, the smaller kitchen bay
Yeah,
windows.
and I saw something else. Yeah. And above, these little like clear story up in the second gable when you're facing it, the big, up to the right of the front door, is that metal? Or is that just this?
This dormer here,
That little,
same one?
no. Under the gable, go to the front door, yeah. What's that across there?
That's an overhang, right?
That's just an
Yes, yeah,
overhang, that's a shadow?
Correct.
Okay, that's good. I think it's a little busy, but that's just the nature of the beast, as far as I can tell.
Well, you took the house, you really extended it out. It's really a narrow home when you look at it. It's just a narrow home. From the street, it's going to look grand, definitely will. But this is a neighborhood where there are grand homes, and there are eclectic homes, and there are different style homes, and it's not one design, one feature, one anything. I don't think you can even define that community, that neighborhood. If I had any critique, it's just that the roof it looks a little heavy, overwhelming. Other than that, I think that's more of, I'm seeing it more in the Queen Anne, especially in some builders that not to be mentioned, but it just seems to be overwhelming, swooping roof lines.
Oh, the roof line's not the material.
Correct. But overall, I think, again, this is a neighborhood which could at least embrace some unique design. Rob, what do you think?
I agree with your comments. I like the design overall. I think it's quite nice. I like a lot of the detailing. I like the setbacks and the pediments of the gambrels front and back. Couple questions. The overhang, and I'll show you what I'm looking at. Can you tell me what the length of the overhang is, for instance? I need to orient myself. For the roof here, as well as the roof in the garage.
I believe it's about 24 to 30 inches, maybe at its base, but then when you get to the gable end build-out, it gets reduced around to like 12.
And this overhang on this gable here, again, that's about 24 inches?
24.
Yeah.
Did you consider brackets anywhere at the garage in particular? Or?
We thought that the board might have some issue with so much fenestration and everything else. We tried to keep it toned down.
Keep things simpler.
Yes.
So it's just, then it fights with this sort of floating. It is a big roof line that it's almost like an oversized hat. But I don't want to be too critical. It's the one thing that my eye catches. There's a lot of windows, but it's a grand house, and I agree with what Zach said. So I was just curious about the brackets. I have no issues.
Christina?
I think it's a grand-looking house, and I think it fits in to where it's going. And yes, I mean, I could make comments about this busy, but I think it fits in. I kind of like the design.
Susan?
I already said something. That's exactly what I meant. I think it's got a lot going on, but I don't really object to it.
Jeff?
Right. My sentiments are generally in the same area. It's a house that fits this lot, and that's fine. To Zach's point, I agree. The 6 windows across the second floor. Had you thought about possibly making them 3 double windows?
Way out above the
front door.
Windows here, just above the front door, yeah?
Yeah, the 6 to maybe make them 3 wide windows. I don't know if that fits in with the design behind it. And it's more a matter of taste than anything else. Rob, would that change things for you, or?
I didn't object to those windows.
It's not a big thing.
I think you have more panelization, and then the windows actually break up some of that.
It almost feels like a take on an enclosed sleeping porch or something.
And just the other thing was minor, and maybe it's the illustration. The chimneys seem a little massive. I don't know if that's a matter of
with the caps and stuff?
The rendering.
From the angle that it's being shot down. And
Are there 2 there?
But
there seem to be
all
Yeah, but 2 on this end, and then I believe that one on
I mean, both of those are nits, and so beyond that, I have no objections. I think it's a smartly styled house.
Any public comment on the application?
Wow.
Anything further with the board?
No.
Motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve the application of BRLD LLC on Pheasant Lane.
Motion by Christina, is there a second?
I second.
Second by Rob, all in favor, Rob? Aye. Christina?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
And aye as well. Thank you.
Good work, guys.
That concludes our non-historic applications. First application, historic. The application is adjourned until July 9th. Is that a standing adjournment?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
It is.
John, is that still relevant?
Yes, I mean, if you wanted to kick it over to September 9th, that would be fine, too. The problem is there's litigation involved, not, well, there's a Should I explain, Mo? No.
Well, do you want, should
You
we?
want an extension? So
If you want to
now,
put it to September 9th, then it'll
Okay,
make more
so
sense.
how do we do that? You making that?
so the applicant's making
Specifically
the motion now.
request that you return the matter to September 9th, and I represent
Okay.
the applicant.
Okay, September 10th. Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn until September 10th.
I make a motion that we approve the applicant Thomas and Meredith Joyce on Hill Street, request to adjourn to September 10th.
Motion by Christina, is there a second?
A second.
Second by Susan, all in favor, Rob? Aye. Christina?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
And aye as well. Next application, please.
Next application is for Jan Split, Purchase Trust at 56 Gin Lane.
John Bennett, the applicant, Tim Haynes is with me. We have this is the, by the way, is the name of the application. The applicant submitted a request for a certificate of appropriateness to renovate the residence. We received a copy of Mr. Studenroth's report. Mr. Haynes is available. I mean, I think it's fair to say it was generally supportive. Mr. Haynes is available to answer any questions.
I think last meeting, we, just so we have it in the record, we asked Zach to do a historical report on the application, which he did, and he completed. You want to give your summation?
Sure thing. About 2 meetings back, the architect, Tim Haynes, had been asked to basically summarize what he was proposing, because there's a lot going on. It's a large house, and he did that. He submitted that to the file. And so I've had the opportunity to, at the request of the board, to visit the site, familiarize myself with what's being proposed. So in summary, the original house evidently dates about 1896, according to the nomination form on file. But more importantly, it was expanded and remodeled essentially in about 1931 in a more contemporary than the colonial revival style. So this basically reshaped the house in many respects. In terms of its exterior detailing, really changed it considerably. The most important feature of that time was the addition of the colossal front porch, which was based on historic precedent. The colonial revival style is also reflected in the front door and the door surround. Variety of window sashes introduced at that time, including the Palladian-type windows that flank the front entry. And then what's important in thinking about what's being proposed is that there have been even more recent changes which have made some significant alterations to the exterior of the house. These include a greatly enlarged east wing, which transformed the appearance of the front and west and south facades. Other changes included the removal and replacement of the porch columns, which had been introduced in 31, including the railing and the staircase, and a number of renovations to the fenestration. So as you can see, we have a complicated situation in which we have a Victorian house in the 1890s, remodeled in the 1930s, and then further enlarged and altered since then. The proposed design would repair the existing slate roof. This is focusing in on what is being preserved. Upgrade existing window sashes with hurricane-rated windows. Presumably this is a code mandate. And would also replace what is now a sort of a rustic type wood shingle siding with something that would be more traditional and appropriate to the colonial revival style. The front porch and stair are also proposed to be remodeled back to what had been built in 1931, subsequent to the more recent changes. So window openings on the west wing are somewhat modified, and the west porch or sunroom is now given conservatory-like windows, which are aesthetically very appropriate. Going around to the rear, or the oceanfront facade, which, after all, you can imagine, and I think this was presented, it's virtually out of the public way. I think if you're standing on the beach, you might catch a glimpse of the upper story of the house, but it's set back quite a bit from the beach, and you really can't appreciate the entire front, rather the entire elevation of the rear facade. Now, nevertheless, what's being proposed are some minor changes to the fenestration. Most importantly is to realign the staircase that leads down to the lawn, which unaccountably is shifted off-center in the present arrangement. I presume that was something that happened later. And what's proposed is to bring that back to align with the main block of the house. As I said, none of those modifications on that side, nor on the two side walls, by virtue of the fact that the house is set so far back from Gin Lane, none of those facades are really within the public right-of-way or view shed. So in summary, despite the large scale and complexity of the existing house, the plan preserves the massing and detailing of its colonial revival style and succeeds in restoring key elements, the front porch, for example, which had been remodeled in recent years. The impact of this important contributing resource will be preserved and enhanced by the proposed project. So that is my comment.
I don't think there was any objection to the board at the last meeting. That the only concern was to complete the file, make it more, friendlier for written decision by council. And unless there's any further objection or any other comments from the board.
Nope.
Rob, Christina, Jeff, Susan?
No,
any
take it
public
away.
comment? And then we'll close for a written decision by council.
I make a motion that we close Jan Split Purchase Trust.
How long do you think it
public comment?
will take to do that?
I asked if there's one.
Years?
Maybe 18 months, 2 years, 2 years.
Yeah. So huge. What a job.
Motion to close for written decision by council.
Make a motion that we close for written decision by council.
Motion by Christina, second by
second the
Susan. All in
motion.
favor, Rob? Aye. Christina?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Final applications for this evening.
The final application for this evening is BLC Hillside Investments at 132 South Main Street. I think similarly, there's a request for a report from Zach is the primary reason for continuing.
Good evening, board members. Kevin McGowan of Essex Scepter Angel Italian Pasca for the applicant BLC Hillside Investment LLC. The architect who presented this a couple weeks back, Erin Cypress at McAlpine, was intending to fly in last night from Nashville, but had an emergency, and this morning we learned she couldn't make it, so unfortunately you're stuck with the attorney.
That's all right.
But just to let you know, we had no objections to the
Right, that was my
application
understanding. I just wanted to make sure.
similar
I have
situation.
plans to pass around, but I'm not sure if needed. Okay.
Zach,
Stay where you
your
are.
report?
Yep. Very quickly, this one, as far as I was concerned, didn't really require my meeting with anyone. It was fairly straightforward. I just wanted to get a better sense. It was clear to me that the house had been previously altered and enlarged, and so I wanted to get a better sense of what that really was with regard to what is being proposed. So very basically, this is a Queen Anne-style house from the 1870s. It has a very substantial addition to the front, which faces the street, and to the north, which is the north side. Built perhaps in the early 1900s. It's hard to tell. That's important because it was built and designed consistently with the style of the house, the existing house, and there are no changes proposed to that front facade at all. So there's nothing proposed that's going to alter any of that. So the biggest addition here, the biggest alteration, is the rather large addition to the back, which of course can be seen from both the sides. Back facade is not the issue. That's out of the public way. But the mass and the massing of what's being proposed is entirely consistent with the style of the house. In fact, it's very well done. It's stepped back and carried to the back in a way that clearly preserves the appearance of what is the original house. Very consistent in terms of all the detailing. So it's really pretty much a textbook example of how to enlarge an old house with a substantial sized wing, but that is clearly preserving the lines and the style of the original building. So I feel that it's entirely appropriate and consistent with the code. Thank you.
Yep. Again, no objection of the board. Just wanted to have a clear outline of the history of the building, which Zach has prepared. If there's nothing else further from the board, and obviously there's no objectives here, motion to close for written decision by council.
I make a motion that we close the application of BLC Hillside Investments on South Main Street for a written decision by our council.
Motion by Christina, is there a second?
I second the motion.
Second by Susan, all in favor. Rob?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Thank you so much.
Have a good evening.
Looks like you have something you want to talk about.
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
And I do too, about something we approved before, 79 Main Street.
Wait.
Oh, okay.
That's right. Okay, something we approved this evening?
No, a while ago. That wasn't built to standards. And I don't know if that's what you want to talk about.
No.
Okay.
So it's up to you. Which one you want to go first?
Go ahead. Rob, you go first. Record it. It's a part of the record.
Okay. So I just would like to put something into the record, Mr. Chairman, because public participation and feedback is critical to the job that this board does. And that public understanding, a lot of it comes either from two sources, either attendance or review of these meetings on the one hand, or coverage in the local papers on the other. And there was an ad that was run this week in the local paper that I fear may give people a false impression about the workings of this board. And I feel it's important to set the record straight on it for the sake of public confidence in the board, so I feel compelled to address it. The ad gave the impression that we approved an application without deliberation, and that's false. I can go into more detail on the deliberation, but there were approximately 15 hours of presentation and discussion in public hearings.
Which advertisement are you talking about and which property?
The advertisement, this is the advertisement from the Southampton Press, and the application in question was the one for 472 First Neck Lane. And the ad reads, on July 11th, the Village Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation, by a 3-2 vote and without deliberation, approved an 82% increase in the footprint of Mocamonto. There was no additional deliberation on June 11th, so technically one could defend the ad that way. But the implication to someone reading it, I think, has repercussions for this board. So in addition to the 15 hours of presentation and discussion in public hearings, hundreds and perhaps thousands of pages of documents were submitted to the file. I can't speak for other members of the board, but in addition to their participation in those hearings, I imagine they, like I, read the documents and letters submitted, sought input and perspective from our consultant, our counsel, and their fellow board members in one-on-one conversations. From my observations, every member of this board, and I spoke with every member of this board at some point during the process on this application, every member of the board made his or her decision carefully from what I observed. That record fulfills any technical or practical definition of deliberation. And I think for any party to claim that our decision on this application or to imply, perhaps unintentionally, that the decision was made without deliberation is factually incorrect and could be demeaning of the hard work and integrity of this board. So I would like the record to reflect that there was in fact deliberation on this. And I hope we can have a constructive dialogue with people who disagree with this board on process or want to find ways of making the code or our process better. But it's not helpful to have inflammatory or misleading accusations that the board makes decisions without deliberation.
So I appreciate you making your response to media ads, because that's what that is, an ad, paid ad. I don't feel this board needs to defend itself. I think we do a fantastic job. I think all 5 people in this board, whether we agree or disagree, we do so independently. We do so with our own passion and with our own understanding. And I don't, I don't question anyone's, integrity to do the job and to do a good job at it. So that stuff I choose not to read for the sheer fact that you start personalizing it. I think it is a minority review more than I think anything else. So I won't even respond to the inaccuracies of it.
Well, I'd
Jeff?
like to respond on that.
Sure.
I support what Rob says because I found that ad misleading and offensive, and I received several phone calls from people who didn't even know where Mocamonto is or what it is, but called up to find out why we weren't deliberating on something important.
That's the issue.
I wasn't aware
If
of
they don't
that.
know where it is, it doesn't matter.
I wasn't aware that you were getting phone calls like
I
that.
didn't know that either. But that's my issue, is that, we have a right to, well, not just a right, I think an obligation to maintain confidence in the work that we do. And it's being challenged here, perhaps unintentionally, by this ad, and I just wanted to speak to the record.
I personally think that the press often gets what we do wrong,
I don't disagree.
more often than not, which, an ad is one thing, but the local newspaper, I think, should try to be more accurate. But that's sticks and stones. We've got to be tougher than that.
Okay.
And I am.
Jeff?
Yeah,
You have
I'm more concerned with the process that we have in working together as a board, the ads, the letters to the
the
press.
letters.
Yes, I read them, but I take them from whence they come.
I agree with that one. And you had something further?
Yeah, so this is on 79 Main Street, and I'm going to share this with Zach because his hair may stand is a little bit already, but this is with you folks as well. And this sort of relates to some of the things that Robin and I have been talking about, and he's brought up, like on Moses Lane, where we decide on something and then people go ahead and build. So on 79 Main Street, that is Flying Point. The Flying Point store. And remember, they had an addition to the side, and we went over.
That's not what.
That is what they built. So they put on, there was great concern that there was this, if you're familiar with the building, it's an historic building. It had a side piece going out to the south. It was coming down. They wanted some additional space. Zach did a report saying their first design was not compatible. They did a subsequent one, and the decision that Bo wrote accurately and well is that they were to retain the existing window scheme, fenestrations, and roof line, and the materials and the paint scheme are to match the existing conditions.
Have you shown this to the building department?
I haven't yet, only because my hope is that this is temporary.
Doesn't look
Temporary
temporary.
gets to be.
But temporary, I don't know.
Well,
So
does it have a CFO?
I'm looking to you folks at how you want to
Isn't that
handle it.
it?
I mean, it's,
This is obviously if this is the finished product, obviously it's a distortion from what was approved. However, still an enforceable issue that the building department is responsible for maintaining. Once it leaves, we're approved. And I know it sounds bad. We approve it, now it's gone, now we have very little enforceable responsibility. But we do have the responsibility of the board to say, we approve this. We go to the powers that are in charge, that are in position to do a site visit and make the changes and
so
make sure that they're enforced.
is that something that any one of us should do as an individual? To say, hey, Chris, take a look at this? I mean, it could be informal. I'm not looking to do
An
anything.
individual member could approach the building department, or you can resolve to have a collective letter from the board.
All right. Well, let's do it
official
in
way.
order. Let me go in and speak to Chris, or I think John is still out. I mean, this is so obvious. I mean, this looks like somebody.
It looks bad. It looks bad. And I'm really hoping it's temporary, and I'm hoping you get the answer you're looking for, that we're looking for.
Did you check, was there a door designed for that area, or is the entire
the pieces
door
aren't even matching.
there? Is that in the plan or not?
There was a door there on the original floor.
Yeah, they wanted to take this off, remember?
And then I
Yeah, but I'm
think
just
they were going
wondering,
to
did
reuse the door.
design have a door there? And
Yeah.
did it
Yes,
show,
so.
depict what the door looked like?
But we were it was supposed to be shingled like that side of the building.
And it had, I think the original door had panes or something, or
I believe it was a door of the period when that addition was put on. And it was,
All right.
this,
So,
that's
I mean-
gone.
So you brought it to our attention. I'm going to assume that I'm going to ask that you go in and
Okay.
you'll report back to the board. And if it's something further the board needs to do,
Okay.
meaning officially write a letter.
Okay. All right,
So-
we'll do.
Wow.
If there's
No, that's bad.
if there's already been a C of O issued, we then still send a letter?
Absolutely.
Okay, maybe there hasn't been one in it. We can head it off, it's the past.
I just want to say I appreciate that. I know our job is not enforcement, but it makes our job obviously
Yeah.
tough if there are things that are altered post-approval.
Correct.
And I think in fairness to the building department, they have a lot of a relatively heavy workload, and they're looking at a lot of technical aspects, and it may not always be the case that they look at all of the architectural elements that have been approved.
That's correct.
But, I think having a dialogue on, particularly on a visible and historic structure like this one, whether it's just walking in to talk to someone in the department or at some point writing a letter at the consensus of the board, I, for one, am glad that the board is looking at things like this. I don't think we need to be too ardent or strident about it. On the other hand, a little vigilance helps our credibility for future.
I appreciate tonight, I appreciate everyone's evidence that you care about what we do. I mean, it obviously has in the past, and we've always seen that, but, showing, and this is, again, if this is something that is either overlooked or even deliberate, we should respond appropriately.
Speaking of enforcement, what happened to your letter to the Aquino House on North Main Street?
North Main, which is...
Not a thing.
So that letter was, my understanding is that letter was sent about 3 weeks ago now, I believe. So I've not checked in to see if they've had any response back. I've not seen a copy of the letter or looked at the file, but I was told that the letter had gone out sometime in the middle of May.
Which was signifying
Just,
there's a code and you got to clean it up.
Yeah.
So do we have the same thing potentially developing with the Joyce property?
Well, there is a maintenance issue, yes.
Yeah.
And the applicant commenced a Article 78, and I moved to dismiss the action on the grounds that code requires an applicant, for having had a certificate of appropriateness application denied, requires the applicant to, and the board, to work in good faith to resolve the issues. They didn't do that, they just sued. So I made a motion to dismiss on the grounds that they hadn't complied with the code, and that motion now has been pending since the time it was made, which was, I think, in January of last year, on the representations of counsel for the owner that they have been in negotiations to try and sell the property. But as you heard tonight with Mr. Bennett, that's now dragged on all this time. And, my approach has been, well, if they can get that resolved, there's no need for the litigation. Somebody's going to have to resolve it, either the owner or the new buyer. But the problem is, as you pointed out, in the meantime, the property is neglected. So if you wish to write a letter on that, that would be appropriate, because it doesn't appear that it is in compliance, the maintenance isn't compliant with the code.
Is there any reason why, to your understanding of the legal issues involved, why they would be prohibited by a court or discouraged in any way from maintaining the property properly during that litigation?
No, it's just, I happen to know personally that the owners are aged and both of them are in poor health. How that affects, the one issue you've got with maintenance is the ability of an owner to actually fund the proper maintenance. So that's an issue that's not addressed by the code, and that could be a potentially long, complex issue.
That might outlive the
Would that be
owners.
maybe that it's a mistake then to send the letter?
Well, I think it's, I think you're in need of sending and going on record for being aware of the fact that the building is not being properly maintained.
Okay.
So I will draft up a letter, if you'll make a resolution authorizing me to write a letter to the owners to advise that the board considers that the building is in need of maintenance and compliance with the
What's the
code.
address of the property?
765.
765? All right, so the motion would be a resolution to
authorize
council to produce a draft letter for 765.
Correct.
No.
Express
Street.
Hill Street.
Hill Street, I'm sorry. Is there a second?
So you wish me to present you with the copy of before it's sent?
That's correct.
Yeah.
All right.
expressing concern that there may be under maintenance of the property and concern about the condition of the
So I
property.
made the second, is there a second? I'm sorry, I made the motion. Is there a second? Second by Christina. All in favor, Rob?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Thank you. So what's left is closing this evening's meeting.
A motion to close
What time is that?
Unlikely hour.
Board of Historic, Architectural Review and Historic Preservation for June 25th.
2018.
Motion's by Susan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Christina. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much.